Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today on my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you how I made this cute little card using Lawn Fawn's new scalloped box card pop-up die. And also I use the slide on over circles and Out of This World stamp and die set. So I'm starting with an 8.5 by 11 sheet of Neenah 100-pound black cardstock. And that is the main piece there for the scallop box card pop-up die. And you're going to need 2 of those cut out. And then you're going to see me put the other piece up there at the top. Those are the little dividers that go inside the box card. And so for this particular card, I cut 3 of those out. The bigger panel, that's the actual box card, I cut out 4 times. I cut it out 2 times because that's how many times you need it for the box. And then I cut it out an extra 2 times because I needed the extra panel pieces for the 2 sides that fold down and then the front panel that folds down. I also needed an extra piece for the back in order to use that slide on over circle die so that I could pop it up so that it would actually move and work. So here I'm just showing you the pieces that I'm going to use for the panel sides, and then I need that other piece for the back. So here I'm just going to cut out the spaces that I don't need and then keep the panels pieces that I do need. And I just shortened this back panel because I don't need it to go all the way down because you're not going to be able to see it in the back of the card. So this little side panel, and the reason I'm doing this is because I decided to cut out the new Lawn Fawn Starry Skies die out of the actual box card pieces that are on the panel on the sides so that I could have those cut out, and I put silver glitter paper behind them to make the stars kind of pop out because you couldn't really see them with the black cardstock. And then I wanted to put black behind that just so that when you folded the card up that it just didn't look like a weird white piece of paper there. So now I'm taking the slide on over circle die and positioning it where I'm going to want it in the card. So this is going to go on the very back panel. And here I'm going to show how I'm going to do the starry skies on the side panels. I put a little piece of post-it tape on that back piece that you see there because I wanted to remind myself that I shouldn't fold that piece because it needs to be straight in the back, and just to give me some orientation on which side was which. So I cut the little panel pieces out with that cute little die. It's so cute. It even comes with like a little shooting star also. And I meant to use it on the back panel, but I forgot. So you won't see that on this card, but you could easily put that on yours if you decide to make this. So you're going to need that little inner circle that came out. This piece you don't need, so you can toss that or you can save it for another card. It would be cute to save a bunch of them and just make some kind of circle card. So I'm going to cut the other side, the other panel pieces out where I want this die. And this is not really a necessary step. You could just glue little stars down on the side. Like you could cut this part out in the silver paper and then glue the stars down. But some of those pieces are so tiny that that card probably would have taken me like 4 hours to make if I hadn't just put the silver paper underneath those so that it looked like sparkling little stars. So I think it turned out fine. It was an extra step, but I'm glad that I ended up doing it. So I'm just cutting out that final piece, and that's going to be the front panel right there. And now I'm cutting out some extra little pieces of the stars in that silver glitter cardstock because I'm going to put some on that back panel. Just put a couple little random pieces. And then there are these 3 little stars that come with the scallop box card pop-up die. There's actually a lot of pieces with that die set, so you really get your money's worth. I think it's sold out everywhere. I'm not really sure, but definitely when it comes back, just get ready to buy it when you see it available because you won't regret it. It's It's a little higher priced dye than what I normally like to spend, but the possibilities are endless. Like I've already made 4 or 5 cards with it, and I intend to make a lot more. It's just so easy to put together, and you really can do these fun little interactive things with them that, you know, you couldn't normally do on just a boring flat card. So I'm just cutting those out, and then I'm also going to use some of those in another way, which I'll show you here in a minute. And I need to color all of my little pieces. So I have the little astronaut, and I'm stamping him with jet black ink from Lawn Fawn. That's perfect ink to use with Copic markers. I don't have a ton of Copic markers. I'm slowly building my collection, but when they're like $7 or $8 a piece, it takes a long time too. I just can't go and spend hundreds of dollars on a bunch of markers because I'm honestly not very good at the coloring part. I like the quality of them, and I love the colors that they have. So I pretty much just have colors that I like and that I know I'll use. And then some basic colors like browns and yellows and greens that, you know, you kind of need in your collection. So my coloring is not very impressive, but this ink is amazing. It doesn't bleed or anything. So, and you don't have to like heat set it or anything. It's really great. And it's fairly new. So I'm just finishing up stamping all the little pieces that I'm going to need to color in. And I usually stamp like 2 or 3 of each, just because if I mess up really terribly on the coloring, then I don't have to get everything back out again. And you can see me also using a stamp chamois from Lawn Fawn. I have a little container that I keep it in to try and keep it moist. It doesn't ever fully dry out, but if it does, I just spray it with a little bit of water and it comes back to life. So that's a great tool to have to clean your stamps off with. So now I am stamping the sentiment, and I only want the part that says "Hope your birthday," because I don't want the "is," because I want the bottom part to say "revolves around you." So I just put a little piece of Post-it tape over it, and I stamped it in VersaFine black onyx ink, and I'm just stamping it on, this is Nina 110 pound smooth Bristol, it's a very long name, cardstock. If you're a crafter, I think you know what I'm talking about. So now I'm stamping that bottom part, and I don't want it, again, to have the whole piece on it. I just want it to say "revolves around you." So I just taped over it. I'm stamping, you know, putting my ink on it, and then I'll pull the Post-it tape off, and then we'll only stamp the part that I have the ink on. So it says "Hope your birthday revolves around you." And I just thought that was a cute little saying, especially with using the little slider circle in the back. So here I'm about to show you my very fancy Copic coloring skills. Basically, I am using 4 colors for this little guy. Actually, I think I ended up using 5 because I needed to color the little spacesuit. I don't really know any fancy blending techniques or anything. I try, and you'll see when I do the little flame there for the rocket ship, but I'm not really impressed with my coloring skills. So someday I will spend a little more time learning about it and maybe get some more colors that I can play with. That probably helps too when you have more of the colors, because I maybe have like 30 markers. So I'm just coloring him, then I'm going to decide what colors I want the rocket to be. And I've already made this card once before I made this little video. And the coloring that I did on the first one actually was a lot better. But I was a little nervous on how much time it was taking me to make this card. And knowing that I was going to have to edit the video so that y'all didn't have to watch like a 2-hour video of me making this one card. So I was kind of rushing to color this, and I wasn't really impressed. But the first one that I made that is similar to this card, I think the coloring looked a lot better. So you can check that out. I have pictures of it on my Instagram and on my blog. So I'm just kind of finished coloring, and I probably should have fast forwarded through all this, but to be honest, I'm not really a video editing type person, and so I wasn't really sure what I was doing. So I had, this video was originally 1 hour and 20 minutes, and I got it down to 25 minutes, so I was kind of impressed with myself. Somehow, some way I figured it out. And I will hopefully do better next time and learn how to kind of fast forward through the coloring, because I know I don't really like watching a ton of coloring when I'm watching YouTube videos, so I do apologize. But I didn't want to cut it out because some people like watching it. So here I go with my fancy coloring technique on the little flame with a red and orange and a yellow marker. Doesn't look too bad, but you know, I'm sure I could do better. And I didn't list all of the Copic marker color numbers that I used because I really didn't keep track, and I put everything away before I could make a list down of what colors I used. So I'm just coloring the water of the earth and putting like a light blue on the outside and then like a darker blue on the inside. And then I will go ahead and die cut these all with the dies that come in the die set. And I am a little disappointed that the little flame doesn't have a die for some reason. So I had to cut that out by hand, and because again I felt rushed, I did not cut it out very well this time like I did the first time. The first time I cut it out, it looked like it came out of a die cut it, but I actually cut it by hand. So I'm not really sure why Lawn Fawn didn't put a die with it. I really would have loved one, but it's okay. I probably won't cut that piece too many times anyways, so it'll be fine. I do intend to play with the rest of the set because it's so cute. There's like all the planets are there, and there's so many cute little sayings on it. So I know I will get my use out of it and just cut that little flame out when I need to. So I'm taking all the dies out, or I should say the colored pieces out of the dies, and I'm just going to set those aside for now. Got to cut that little flame out, and it did bleed a little bit for some reason. I'm not really sure why it bled out of the inked line, but maybe I just got it too wet. I'm not really sure. So just patiently cutting it out, and I'm more moving the paper than I am my scissors. It's just easier that way when you're cutting out little tiny pieces like that. So I'm going to go ahead and fold down the panels now, and using a bone folder so that it has a nice good crease on it, and also down the side, and then this little tab, which is what's going to be used to adhere to the other panel to make the box. So I'm just using some score tape. I usually use like a Tombow mono adhesive permanent like glue roller type thing, and I didn't want to do that on these box cards that I've been making because I felt like they were probably going to be played with a lot, and I wanted like a good solid permanent adhesive that wasn't going to come apart. And so I used score tape, and this right here I'm using 1/8 of an inch of score tape, and then on those panels that I already did, I used 1/4 inch score tape. So I'm putting this 1/8 inch score tape on the top of the silver paper that I'm going to put under those stars, and you'll see here in a second. I think I don't know why I decided to do it that way, but it worked out fine. So that the paper was popping through at the top. And again, there's probably a bunch of different ways I could have done this, but I had to pick a complicated way, of course. So I'm just adhering that paper down, and then I'm going to put that black extra panel piece that I cut on top of it using 1/4 inch score tape so that it's really secure on there. And the reason I'm doing that is because when you flatten the card down to put it in an envelope, that white part would show. And I know the recipient probably wouldn't care, but I care. So I wanted to make sure it was covered up. And I mean, I thought about just putting like a sentiment there or writing a little note, but that paper that the glitter's on is like really flimsy and you can kind of see through it. So I just thought it was better to cover it up. So I'll go ahead and do that with all all the 3 panels, the 2 sides and the front. And now I'm peeling off that tape around where I reminded myself that was the back panel. And I think this piece didn't cut very well because I think I didn't have my die lined up correctly on my cutting plate. So I'm just kind of trimming off the side there and just cleaning that up a little bit. So you're going to need a penny in order to make this little slider card. I'm sure you could probably use a dime too, but anything bigger than that probably wouldn't work too well. So I'm just kind of deciding Okay, I need to put adhesive on it. On the first one I made, I ended up not putting adhesive across the top of it, and you could see the penny. I just forgot, to be honest with you. So this one I'm making sure that I'm really securing it and putting the foam tape all around it. So I doubled up my foam tape. Excuse me. And so I just am measuring and making sure that the penny's going to be able to slide by there, as you know, that I don't need to trim that down anymore. And it's the perfect size there. I basically just cut the foam adhesive in half, and doing that on both of the sides of the little panel there. And that middle part, again, you want to make sure you don't throw that away when you cut the slide on over circle out, because you need that in order to anchor the penny behind the little slider. So now I'm just putting the foam adhesive on the bottom part of the panel. And then for the top part of the panel, I need room for that penny to go by, so I need to cut that piece in half again. So basically this is 1/4 of my foam adhesive, the size of it. So I'm going to put that at the top. That way it's secured and you won't be able to see the penny through the top of the card. And so these foam pieces, or I got to put the pieces of foam on the black part too. I think I ended up taking the little piece of paper off of it, but then I put it back on because I wasn't quite ready to do that part yet. So the sides of the foam obviously are white, and I didn't want that to show through this card, which is, it's basically completely black. Here I'm just using the powder tool to make sure that it doesn't stick to the penny when it's spinning around. Okay, back to the side parts of the foam. I took a big Copic marker that I have, and I just went around the edges where the white foam was showing and colored it black. That way it just kind of blends in when the card is put together, and you won't see that white foam, because it just doesn't, you know, it wouldn't look very good. So I'm just taking my time. It doesn't really matter, because if you get it on the back of the foam like I did, nobody's going to see that part because it's going to be adhered to the back panel. So I'm ready to put it on, and I just make sure it's really lined up very well with the scallops at the top there. And then I'm just kind of like checking it out, making sure that it's going to work okay. I have these little, I'm not sure what to call these things. I call them dividers, but they're not really dividers. They're just like the little panel pieces that go on the inside of the card where you can put the stuff, you know, like I put the astronaut and I put the little rocket ship. You should have at least 2 of them in there. But you really could have as many as you wanted. You could probably have like 8 to 10 in there if you wanted. And they're pretty easy to put on. This one was a little difficult because that foam popped out from the back, so it was a little more difficult to get it lined up. But there is a really easy way to do this, is you just put these tabs down like I'm doing, and then and also, please don't mind me, I couldn't have my head directly over my workspace because I was filming, and I still haven't found a great way to set up my filming equipment, but I will. So I wasn't able to get them lined up completely right, but it was good enough. This card was more just for a sample. The first one that I made that turned out way better would be the one I would give away. So now I'm just putting on that other side of the box. And normally when that back panel is flat, you can just take off the adhesive off this side of that little divider panel, and then just lay them down flat. And then you fold over the other side, and they automatically go where they need to be. But you can see there that it doesn't really lay flat, obviously, because of the foam tape. So that little trick didn't exactly work too well, and the front little panel part got sideways. Again, it's not the end of the world. People like getting these handmade cards anyways, so just the time it takes to make them, they're appreciative of it. So I wouldn't worry too much about any little mishaps like that. So now I'm getting ready to do the slider part, and I am going to put that penny in there with the little foam piece. And again, I'm just running my powder tool around it so that the adhesive on the side deactivates essentially, and so it will allow that little penny to move through there. And so you can see that I put that little piece in the middle, and then I put the earth that I colored onto the penny with the pop-up dot, and it circles around now. So now I need to put the little flame coming out of the rocket. So I use some Tombow mono adhesive and just let the stuff dries so fast. I mean, I don't know how I ever lived without that until I discovered it. So it really is. And it's really inexpensive, but it's super strong and it dries really fast. So now I'm just adhering the little astronaut kind of off to the side like he's floating in space. And then the little rocket ship, just put a little bit of the adhesive on that and stick that on the front panel. The little astronauts on the middle panel. And I didn't put like any colored piece on the back panel, but I did want it there because I wanted to do these little stars that look like they're floating. So all those ones that I cut out at the beginning, I am now going to cut little pieces of acetate, and I'm going to adhere the acetate with that Tombow Mono multi-medium matte. It's a fancy long name, of course. And so that they kind of look like they're floating in the background. So that's why I wanted that third panel back there, even though I didn't have any like colored pieces or any other little things that I was going to put there. So I'm just putting all these little acetate pieces down. Again, they dry really fast, so I mean like a minute or two, and then you can go ahead and put them on those panels. And then I took some of the even smaller ones, and I wanted to use those too, a couple of the little small ones. And I think I put more smaller ones in the first one that I made, but this one I just did two, like a medium size and a small one. So in addition to those, while I'm letting those dry, I'm going to want to put some stars on the back panel, just because it's just plain black and it just felt like it needed a little something. So this one little tiny piece here, it was like a little circle that gets cut out of the Starry Skies die. I adhered that to the back panel. And then I used a medium star and then a small star and just kind of put those down in that right hand corner. Again, using that multi-medium matte. And they, like, you can just see they just stick on there, like they don't fall or anything, and dries so fast. And this one I'm using a large one and a medium and a small. The large one is actually from the scallop box card pop-up die that I showed you in the beginning, the little three stars that were on that little one die. And then the two smaller ones are from the Starry Skies cutout. So now I'm just taking my Fiskars paper trimmer and trimming down the little saying that I made, and I'm going to cut off on the left side to shorten that down, and then make like a banner, flag pennant banner cut on the right side. And then I'm just going to go ahead and secure that to the front panel there of the box with the little flag hanging off to the side a little bit. And I'm going to adhere that using some score tape. This is the 1/4 inch score tape. And then I'm also going to accent that little saying with another of the silver stars, just to finish it off there in the corner. I thought that looked pretty cute. Excuse me. So after this step is done, now I'm going to take all of those little stars that I put the acetate on and kind of figure out where I want to put them in the little divider panels. Some of them I want kind of like down low, and others I want up high. So I'm putting the multimedia mat on the front side of the acetate so that I can adhere it to the back, basically, of that front panel there. And I'll do the same going back and just putting so that you can't see where it's glued down. And I just kind of randomly put them in there. And that's my card for the day. Here you can just see me like making sure that the multimedia mat, that it was all cleared out of the needle, because otherwise it gets stopped up. So that's my card with the little slide on over circle. It's so much fun. I can't wait to make another one. And that was the original one I made there, which I think turned out a little bit cuter because I had spent like 4 hours making it. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you see, subscribe to my channel. Thanks!